Today we're going to talk about bad parenting, specifically raising a deadbeat kid. So, I guess it was last week I saw on the news and, in print and everything else about this guy named Michael Rotondo. Now, first impression that you get, and the first thing if you're a responsible human being, is that this guy is a fucking loser. Let's be honest, the reason he is the way he is because he was raised by bad parents. Now, I'm sure his parents are nice people, but here you've got, let's get to the story of this guy. You've got a 30-year-old man-child, because he's not a man, he's not a boy, not a child, he's something in between. He's 30, no job, living in mom and dad's basement. And I'm going to put a link down below with, I saw a new article today about this jagoff. And I mean, his room's a fucking pigsty. He doesn't clean up after himself. He doesn't have a job. He can't hold a job. I can't find any reference that he's completed an education or done anything in his life other than sit at home in mom and dad's basement. Now, the very first thing that I saw about this guy was the parents, I guess in January, had, left him a note in the room. I guess they don't really talk to him because I don't know what the issue is, saying that he needed to get out, and they gave him 2 weeks. Well, he wouldn't get out. Said he didn't have the money. So they gave him $1,100, and they said that would help him use it to get a place, find a job, get out. Gave him another 2 weeks. Nope, wouldn't go. I mean, this kept going on for a while until they actually had to take this guy to court. And the judge said, get the fuck out. And they've given him until June 1st to get out. Now, the things that really tell you that the parents were bad parents, if you read these articles, it goes into he's never been asked to pay rent, not asked to help around the house, no responsibilities whatsoever. So basically, they keep a roof over his head, they feed him. I guarantee you mom and dad are doing laundry and everything else. They've never made him do anything. And, this is the equation for raising a kid to be a loser and a deadbeat. And I think there's a large portion of parents out there that are guilty of doing this. It's not just this guy, it's a lot of kids that are growing up. They're still in their 30s, living at home with mom and dad, because they're lazy bastards, but their parents created these lazy bastards. I mean, in my generation, everyone I knew worked summers. We all worked part-time jobs. If we wanted a car, mom and dad said, fucking buy it. It wasn't given to us. You wanted to pay your car insurance, fucking pay for it. The only thing that they would do, they'd help with your education, stuff like that. And, we all had a reason to work hard for scholarships. We didn't want to be a burden on our parents. And I don't see that with these kids. It's like they're raised to be a burden on their parents. And it's not like this guy is an anomaly. There is a whole generation of losers out there still living at home, thinking that they don't have to get a job, they don't have to help around the house, they don't have to, do anything they're asked to do. And it's our fault as parents for doing this to these kids. Now, if you don't want a 30-year-old jagoff living in your basement, when it's time for you to retire, be happy, and not have a burden on you, raise your fucking kids to get a job. Tell them when you're old enough, get a part-time job so you have your own spending money. Don't do this shit and give your 20-year-old a fucking allowance for doing nothing. Make these kids have some responsibility. And kids, if you don't like this shit, tough. You have to learn at some point to be responsible. And we're not asking you to quit school and get a job. We're saying, while you're in school, do what the rest of the adults in the world have done and work part-time while you're in school. you can still get good grades. You can still run a full schedule. In fact, I mean, the way that I did it is every summer I worked for my father doing construction, doing ditches and horrible shit all summer, but it gave me a ton of money to put aside to run for the year. And on top of that, I worked in another shitty job on Mondays and Wednesdays at a bingo hall. You know, it wasn't awesome. In fact, it was probably one of the worst freaking jobs I ever had, but you made $50, $100 a week as a 16-year-old kid, and that took care of your gas, going to the movies and everything else. And this was back in the 80s, so that went a long way. You can do the same thing. You can work all summer full time and save and have that money put aside. And parents, make your fucking kids do it. Don't tell them, oh, I don't want you to work. You know, wait until you're done school. You're just raising lazy kids who are not going to be responsible. They won't understand the value of a dollar. They won't value things because it's given to them instead of them having to work for it. I mean, if you are not raising your kid to the point where they have to earn the things at some point that they have instead of just handing it all to them, you're raising a spoiled brat who's going to be worthless. And you can't do that. You've got to teach them responsibility. You have to teach them the value of the things that they have, or they won't value anything. So, I mean, this guy Michael Rotondo, yeah, he's a fucking loser, but he was made a loser. His parents created this monster. You know, we can't just sit here and say, oh, he's a loser. We have to admit that he was made exactly what he is. The fact that his parents never made him participate, never made him pay rent, never made him do anything around the house. They created their own monster. And, I mean, this guy, I mean, maybe there's something wrong with the guy, because to actually go to court to try to force your parents to let you live at home because you don't want to fucking move out, that's pathetic, man. You can't be doing that. You've got to be an adult at some point. Sometimes you have to fucking grow up. And, you know, it's a good time to do it when you're old enough to get a job. And, you know, get a part-time job. Keep a steady job while you're in school. Get promoted so you make more money. Do the right thing. Don't be a fucking loser and live at home on mom and dad's money and refuse to get out. I mean, if my mom and dad would have said, get the fuck out, I would have gotten out. Of course, if I had said no, my old man would have beat the shit out of me and I would have gotten out anyway. And that's what probably should have happened to this kid. But, you know, the parents were weak. They let the kid do what he wanted. They never made him do anything, and it's their fault. You know, that's pretty much the gist of it. Don't be a shitty parent. Don't raise your kids to think they have no responsibility in life. Encourage them to get a job, to have responsibility, and to earn the extras that they want. You know, if they want something, they want a car or whatever, make them work for it. Don't just give it to them. I mean, my first car, my dad technically gave it to me, and it cost me more than me buying a car would have, because the engine didn't work, the transmission didn't work. I spent an entire summer working digging ditches to get this thing going, put new quarters on, get it painted. By the time I was done, it cost me more than buying it. A beater that would have cost me. But, you know, he did it to teach me responsibility and to make me learn that, you know, you got to take care of your shit and pay for it. So, you know, do these things. Don't let these kids get away with being assholes. But that's it. Raise your kid to be responsible. Don't raise them to be a worthless asshole. That's it for today. Remember to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Give me your input, what you think. Is it okay to raise a lazy-ass kid who thinks everything's owed to him and shouldn't have to move out? Or do you think you should raise your kids responsibly? Pipe in down below. Kids, you can say what you want, but you should be responsible. It's not our responsibility to take care of you our whole fucking lives. That's it. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.